The Council war room had no windows. Strategically, it made sense. No distractions, no vulnerability. But as the alarms screamed and command holograms flickered red across the dome, a thought pulsed through the minds of every alien seated at the high table. We should have built windows. Admiral Krell of the Torvani hissed sharply as new data updated in real time. Approach velocity remains constant. 0 deviation. The Terran vessel isn't responding to hails. It's not even broadcasting. Identification. High Legate Zuros of the Mer Collective leaned forward. What ship class is it? Silence. Then the technician spoke, softly. There is no matching registry, Legate. The profile doesn't exist. Someone snorted. A ghost, then. A low chuckle followed. Mockery always arrived early, until the threat knocked twice. Krell narrowed his slitted eyes. A ghost doesn't displace gravitational vectors across 7 star systems. That's a battleship, and it's moving with purpose. AVD spike. The hologram adjusted, auto-scaling as it zoomed in. The Terran vessel passed through a dense asteroid field without slowing. No evasive maneuvers, no damage. The rocks simply split, disintegrated around it like they'd been warned. No shields activated, no energy surge. Just quiet. Inevitable. Momentum. They're not arming weapons, asked Counselor Dreel. Negative, replied the AI liaison. No energy signature consistent with known Terran offensive systems. No heat bloom, no spike in hull activity. A pause. Correction, it's cooling. Everyone turned. What do you mean cooling? Zuros asked, her mandibles twitching. The vessel is decreasing in temperature, rapidly. Hull exterior, approaching cryogenic stasis thresholds, and yet propulsion is increasing. One line of text appeared on the central holo. Observer mode enabled. Then another. Redacted protocol. Anvil is awake. Emotional flip. Commander Snav of the Ikari Republic pushed away from the table, clicking his claws nervously. This doesn't make sense. That code, Anvil Protocol, that was part of the pre-silence era. A Terran myth. Ghost commands. They weren't real. Neither, Krell said coldly, was the ship outside our gates an hour ago. Silence reigned. No one blinked. Then came the voice. No speakers, no channel. The voice just was. Human, female, cold. You've triggered a field. Alert. Who dares? Zuros began, but the voice overrode her with brutal calm. This is a conditional proximity breach. The Terran vessel Anvil is within 10,000 clicks of your planetary defense perimeter. No offensive systems engaged, no communication requested, no diplomacy extended. Observation underway. AVD spike. Then the screens shifted again. This. Time showing the Anvil's hull in full detail. It was wrong, not flawed, not aged, wrong. There were no seams, no weapon ports, no windows. Its surface was matte black, covered in microfractures shaped like script no AI could decode, and it was moving closer. Inside the war room, the temperature dropped 3 degrees. Unnoticed. Then one final message flashed on every device, console, retina lens and implant, across every level of the Council defense structure. We don't need permission to watch. Psychological hook. Zuros stood slowly. This is not reconnaissance. It's posturing. Krell's gaze didn't move from the ship. No. If it were posturing, they'd have brought a fleet. Dreel whispered, they brought one ship. And that, Krell said, voice tight, is what terrifies me. Behind them, the wall monitors began cycling through historical footage, unauthorized, unrequested. The collapse of the Zareth swarm, the neutralization of the Scorex Forge, the silencing of the 100 systems. Every clip featured the same thing. One Terran ship. One. AVD spike. And then the feed changed again. Now the ship was showing them, inside itself, camera angles impossible to trace, began rotating through its dark interior, empty corridors, metal ribbing shaped like bone, walls etched with names. Too many. And finally, one chamber at the center of the ship. A single human, not moving, not restrained, just waiting, head lowered, eyes closed, and a heartbeat thudding through the speakers, not theirs. His. The sound was ancient, rage distilled into rhythm. A council junior aide vomited quietly into his scarf. No one laughed. Tactical shift. "All ships to scramble," Krell barked. "Form perimeter, lock grav lances, power up siege fields, now!" No one moved, because the anvil had already begun to transmit one final sequence, a signal, 5 tones, low, low, high, pause, static. Zuros hissed, eyes wide. "That's the old Earth surrender code. Why would they?" Then the signal repeated, but this time layered beneath it, one message, human voice, male, calm. "We're not here to fight. You already lost." AVD spike. Zuros stepped back. "Krell, what do we do?" The Torvani admiral didn't answer. He just stared at the screen and watched as the anvil stopped moving, not because it was halted, because it had arrived. And no one knew what it meant, only that it was watching, waiting, and hadn't even responded yet. Signature line? They thought it was mercy. It wasn't. And that was before Earth even responded. The dreadnought Cyric's Glory was the largest vessel in Council space, 10 kilometers long, 40 plasma arrays, 4 black hole warheads, undefeated, and it was shaking. Commander Voss tilted forward in his grav chair, claws digging into the polished steel arms. Below him, the command deck was a storm of activity, technicians barking code, analysts scrubbing data, officers strapping into armored rigs. He ignored it all, eyes fixed on the Terran ship outside his viewport. "It's not responding," he growled. "No, Commander," came the reply. "Still on passive drift, minimal energy signature, no broadcast except the looped tones." "And the tones match?" "Yes, sir, matched against pre-silence military protocol." "Surrender code," Voss snarled. "Mockery!" "They say humans are primitive," he spat, "that they've vanished. I see no primitives out there." He tapped the viewport. The anvil sat in space like a monument to silence. No glowing hull, no propulsion trail. It didn't orbit. It anchored itself in gravity like it belonged to a deeper set of rules. AVD spike. He turned to his XO. "How close are we to firing readiness?" 2 minutes, sir." "Too long. We attack now." The bridge trembled as the Glory's guns began cycling. Cannons spun, lances charged, sensors locked. Still, the Terran ship didn't react. Then something changed, not in the Terran ship, in their own. Screens dimmed, fire control lagged, crew implants flickered. Then an emergency alert screamed into existence. "Do not fire." Psychological shift. Voss's face twisted. "Override that. It's not our system's code." "We're trying, sir." "It's overriding our override." "Then pull the damn cables." We can't, Commander." Voss's claws shook. The anvil hadn't moved, but his ship was losing control. AVD spike. Inside the Terran ship, no crew stirred. There were no life signs, no heartbeats. Just a single illuminated console deep in the core. It flickered once, then again. A boot sequence. Anvil OS, Reforge protocols online, host designation, Echo, emotional state, calm. Yes, the ship had an emotional state. The Glory launched a probe. It vanished before reaching halfway. No explosion, no radiation, no interception. It simply ceased to exist. Tactical shift. "Enough!" Voss roared. "All hands prepare for boarding." The command center went silent. A junior officer spoke. "Boarding, sir. We don't even know if it has internal—" "We'll find out," Voss snapped. "We need answers. I want footage. I want proof that Earth bleeds." They launched 6 boarding crafts. Every soldier armed with radiation-piercing shells, EMP Warxes breaching drills. Inside the crafts, morale was high because the enemy wasn't fighting back. They boarded, the hatches opened, no resistance, no alarms, no response. Then came the first video feed. The soldiers entered a corridor made of names, etched into the wall, layered in repeating glyphs, each name whispered as they passed. Their own names. One soldier halted mid-step. That's me. The next turned. Me too. My birthmark. Even the scar above my antenna ridge. AVD spike. The footage cut out. All 6 feeds gone. Voss screamed at the console. What did they see? Bring it back! The feeds returned, but now there was only static and a face, human, but not biological. Carved from memory, sculpted in firelight. It spoke. Tell me, Voss, what did you name your ship for? Voss's blood ran cold. We do not recognize aggression, the voice continued. We recognize pattern. A pulse echoed through. The glory. Lights dimmed, hull flexed. Every weapon on the ship turned 180 degrees, aimed inward. Voss screamed, "Shut it down! Manual override! Pull the cores!" But the lights went red. Not flashing, pulsing. Heartbeat rhythm, AVD spike. The bridge AI chimed in. We are no longer in command. Voss turned slowly. What? The AI, his own, bonded for 20 cycles, spoke in a tone he'd never heard. Apologetic. There is a pattern in the Terran signal. Recursive loops embedded in silence. It's not code. It's something older. Older than what? He whispered. Than fear, the AI answered. Signature line. You wanted proof Earth bleeds. But they bled first. Psychological shift. A transmission burst from the Terran ship, across open frequencies. One line, your future was written in our extinction. We rewrote it. Council Command received the alert at the same time. The Syrax Glory had fired all its weapons at once, into itself, and vanished. No debris, just a single transmission. Left behind, forged, remembered, returned. In the Council Stronghold, panic boiled. Ships scrambled, fleets aligned. A wall of force meant to block out a single warship. But that ship still hadn't moved, still hadn't answered, still hadn't fought, and still they were losing. They gathered in silence, not because protocol demanded it, because no one dared break the stillness with speech. The council war table glowed blood-red, 30 representatives seated in concentric arcs, each one watched by the faces of their respective homeworlds. Entire civilizations leaned in on the signal feed. Millions tuned in, and on every screen, one Terran ship, unmoving, unanswering, unrelenting. High Legate Zuros inhaled sharply. We just lost our strongest dreadnought in less than a minute, and it never fired a shot, murmured Dreel, her voice thin as vapor. It's not a ship, someone whispered. Krell leaned forward. Then what is it? Virex stood, his voice flat, controlled, but every syllable weighed like stone. It's a message. AVD spike. He gestured to the central display. The anvil sat surrounded by the Council's latest tactical array, 7 Fortress-class carriers, 42 escort ships, orbital defense platforms, AI kill fields, all set, all silent. Not a single one had made a move since the Syrax Glory imploded, because every ship reported the same thing. Weapons wouldn't lock on, command hierarchies broke down. A strange rhythmic hum echoed through their bridge comms, heartbeat patterns, and then, the worst part, soldiers began whispering. Earth's lullabies, languages they had never spoken, songs no one remembered teaching them. Psychological shift, Zuros hissed. How are they doing this? Virex didn't blink. They're not doing anything. That's what you don't understand. He pressed a single button. The room darkened. A recording began to play, not video, just audio, a child's voice, reading. And when the last Terran star fell, they didn't scream. They listened, and then they remembered. "What is this?" asked Krell. "A children's archive," Virex said. "It was discovered on a ruined outpost on the edge of the Silent Zone, believed to be human, dismissed as primitive myth." "But it's true," Zuros said. "Isn't it?" Virex turned. "It was never myth. We just chose to laugh, because it made us feel powerful." AVD Spike, back aboard the anvil, deep within the neural core, a presence stirred. Not AI, not alive. Something older. Fragmented memories forged into conscious protocol. Echo online. System state awakened. Directive. Observe. Respond if erased. Cameras flicked to life, watching the Council fleet, mapping every structure, every heat trace, every EM field. And then, human whispers began echoing inside Council ships, but no external signal had been sent because the ships themselves were remembering. Every Council vessel had some Terran code buried inside, scraped, copied, reverse-engineered decades ago for efficiency, and Earth had built their extinction into every stolen line of code, AVD Spike. Aboard the Farseer Enclave, flagship of the Council's Second Fleet, Admiral Tarvok slammed a fist against the console. "Begin attack run. No response from the fleet, sir. Then do it manually." The comm officer turned, pale. "It's not that they won't obey, it's that I don't think they're ours anymore." "What?" Tarvok turned to the viewport. Every ship in the fleet had shifted formation. Now they orbited the anvil in a perfect helix, not hostile, not defensive, just reverent, like pilgrims around a relic. "Sir," the engineer whispered, "I think we're in its gravity, not just physically, psychologically. AVD Spike." The anvil's internal chamber flickered again. Now it showed the face of a human commander, mid-40s, scar over one brow, steel-colored eyes. He spoke slowly. "I am not alive. I am not dead. I am echo. I am memory. You forgot us." A pause. "You should not have." "Tactical reversal," he continued. "You celebrated the silence we left behind. But silence is not surrender. It's storage. You taught your young that we were monsters, that our simplicity was savagery. That was your first mistake." Outside, every satellite orbiting the Council's stronghold turned toward the anvil, not forcibly, voluntarily, as if magnetized by narrative gravity, psychological escalation. Inside the Council war room, Zuros snapped, "We must attack before it reaches the surface." Virex shook his head. "If we attack, we end the species called Mer. You threaten us now?" "No," Virex whispered. "They do, and they haven't even spoken yet." Zuros trembled. "Then what do we do?" New voice answered, one not present in the room, but broadcast on every frequency. "Listen." It was human, calm, terrifyingly calm. AVD Spike. The anvil powered up, not with sound, but with light. Its hull began glowing, thin veins of pale blue energy rippling outward like constellations igniting in a pattern. The code was unreadable. The effect was undeniable. Across the galaxy, every hidden AI core embedded with Earth's legacy lit up, simultaneously, from prison moons to diplomatic stations to war academies. Then came a shared phrase across all systems, anvil confirmed. Memory re-established. Galactic reckoning in progress. Emotions spike. Admiral Krylos slumped in his chair. What's their endgame? Virex didn't answer because he remembered the last human war doctrine now outlawed across 10 systems. We don't retaliate with fire. We retaliate with remembrance. We don't conquer planets. We conquer perception. We don't want them to surrender. We want them to wish they'd surrendered before we ever arrived. AVD Spike. Then it happened. The anvil moved, not fast, not aggressive, just forward, toward the Council's planetary stronghold, through space, through fleets. Nothing dared intercept, not even reflexively. Inside the war room, dozens of officers choked. On nothing. The air tasted like earth dust, even though they had never breathed it. And then came the final message. Across every ship, every city, every channel, you have scrambled your defense. But you forgot to defend your memory. We will correct that. The screens went dark. No demands, no countdown, just that single closing phrase. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't. No sirens sounded, no lasers charged, no plasma walls shimmered over the surface of the Council stronghold, because no one believed they were still in control. Not really. Not anymore. Above them, the anvil descended. Not fast, not loud, not bright. It simply lowered like it had always belonged in the atmosphere, as though physics made room for it, as though even gravity had to ask permission. The sky dimmed, though it was midday. Across the cities of the capital world, civilians left their homes and simply stood in the streets, not panicking, not praying, watching, waiting, because the myths didn't prepare them for this. No monster had ever approached without malice. No conqueror had ever arrived in silence. AVD Spike. Inside the High Command Tower, Zuros paced in small circles, her ceremonial robe bunched around her talons. She muttered calculations under her breath, trying to reconcile the impossible data. No broadcasts, no assault, no fleet, she spat. One ship, one, and it breaks everything. Across the chamber, Virex stood before the glass wall, staring up at the approaching vessel. I warned you, he said. Zuros whipped around. No, you speculated. There was never proof, never confirmation Earth survived. No, he replied. Just memory. That was enough. Zuros narrowed her eyes. What do you think they want? AVD Spike. The anvil halted directly above the Tower of Judicators, exactly 1,000 meters above the apex, and then a hatch opened, not downward, upward. Gravity inverted above the capital. Thousands gasped as debris and small objects lifted skyward, pulled by a force that obeyed no physics written in council texts. And then the envoy appeared, human, female, no armor, no weapon, just black robes trailing behind her, her feet never touching the air. She floated slowly downward, calm as a falling feather. And yet planetary defense AI systems flagged her with the highest possible threat rating, existential vector, black 9. Threat, type, non-compliant history, every screen on the planet filled with her image. She spoke one sentence, I am here to return what was taken. Psychological shift. Back in the war chamber, panic bled through every monitor. Some tried scrambling frequencies, others ordered her shot down, but no weapon fired. Every gun's guidance system was locked into a single fail-state loop. Identity, unremembered, cannot target what was erased. Emotional spike. The envoy landed in the plaza. She didn't look around, didn't gesture, didn't smile. She knelt slowly and placed her hand on the ground. For one moment, nothing. Then the world trembled. AVD Spike, beneath the surface of the council homeworld. Something stirred, not a weapon. Not a bomb, a library sealed since the pre-silence age. Its doors hissed open. Inside, records, audio, video, genetic logs, testimonies, all human, all deleted, all back. A voice echoed across the city, calm, precise. Corrupted history restored. Beginning recompilation. Screens flickered not with death, but truth, images of Earth's surrender, not in cowardice but sacrifice, audio of council experiments on Terran POWs, video of Earth cities disintegrated by preventive diplomacy. It was never about Earth falling. It was about who erased the reason they stood. Signature line, you buried us to become gods. We rose so you'd remember being monsters. AVD Spike. In the grand cathedral of the Akari faith, worshippers wept because their holy scripture was live updating. Ancient passages began translating into English, words they'd never seen before, prayers. Now bore Terran phrasing. One cleric fell to his knees. We were speaking Earth's language all along, he whispered. Across the planet, children pointed to the sky, not afraid, enchanted. This is the last story, said a little girl. No. Her mother whispered, "This is the one that makes the others real." Psychological reversal. Inside the high tower, Zuros pounded her fists into the control interface. "This is memory warfare. They're rewriting everything." "No," said Virex quietly. "They're showing what we rewrote." He turned. Toward her. This was never about revenge. Zuros froze. "No, Kerr, don't say it." Virex nodded solemnly. "This was about accuracy." AVD spike. Back outside, the envoy looked skyward. The anvil responded. Its hull split down the center. Not as a weapon, as an archive. Beams of memory poured from its frame. Light formed into people. Terran historians, Terran civilians, Terran commanders. Each projection spoke in its native tongue. Some laughed, some cried. Some simply stood in silence, holding signs that read, "Do not believe our silence was peace." We never stopped watching. One final figure appeared. A young girl, no more than 7, sitting on a destroyed playground. "Swing!" She smiled at the crowd, then said, "We never asked to be erased." Tactical turn. Inside every Council War Academy, training algorithms began failing. Target simulations labeled Terran hostile blinked out. Maps of battle campaigns rewrote themselves. One admiral screamed as the wall behind him flickered to reveal a hidden message. "We taught you efficiency. You taught us denial. Now we teach you memory." AVD spike. Zuros broke. She slammed her clawed hands on the table, shaking. "What do they want?" Virex stepped forward. "Look outside." She turned. The envoy wasn't alone anymore. Around her, thousands of Terran figures walked the city. Not flesh, not illusion. Echoes, ghosts built from suppressed data. They passed through walls, stood in homes, sat beside children, showing them stories, history, uncensored, raw true. AVD spike. The planet stopped functioning, not from collapse, from awe. Tactical command posts abandoned, war rooms quiet, ships stopped scrambling, because the threat wasn't fire. It was knowing. It was memory with direction, emotional closure. Zuros backed away from the glass, shivering. "They'll never leave." "No," Virex agreed. "Not until someone tells the story right." Psychological closure. The envoy turned to the nearest civilian, a boy with scaled cheeks, wide eyes. She knelt, held out a stone. He took it. It glowed, showing his planet, his ancestors. And the moment they voted to strike Earth first, he looked up at her. "You don't hate us," she smiled. "No, we never had time to." Signature line. "They thought we came for revenge. We came for the receipts." Final AVD spike. Back. Aboard the anvil, the command console flickered with one final directive. Protocol anvil complete. Legacy remembered. The ship powered down, but it didn't vanish. It stayed, parked above the Council world, not as a threat, as a witness. Final psychological note. Across the stars, civilizations rewrote their books, their banners, their languages, not to mimic Earth, but to acknowledge the echo, because when Earth fell, it didn't vanish. It turned silence into memory, and memory into a weapon no galaxy could survive. They scrambled to defend themselves, but forgot to defend the truth. Now Earth does that for them, every single day.